Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of MLS Monday. So, this week on MLS Monday, we are talking about expert searching inside of the MLS, as well as connecting your customers and your clients into the MLS portal and giving them access to be able to search the MLS. These two topics really do go hand in hand because once you learn how to be an expert searcher in the MLS, that's how you're going to be able to best serve your clients, whether you're sending them listings because they're searching, they're looking to buy, or maybe they're in that like nosy neighbor stage, like, hey, we're looking to list sometime in the next year, but we're not quite ready yet. Can you start sending us properties similar to ours, right? They don't want a full CMA, but they want to start looking, right? So either side of the fence, buyer or seller, you want to be able to do a very great job at niche searching inside of the MLS so that you can best serve your clients no matter what it is that they're looking for. So what I want to start off with talking about is, whether you're new or you've been in the business for a while using the MLS, it's really important to be able to learn how to search inside of the MLS outside of just the basic parameters we give you. So right when you log into the MLS, you go to search, which is mostly what we all do first day we get access to the MLS. You start looking through properties, you've got the default search fields that are given to you in the MLS. I want to talk to you about the different ones that you can add, some different tactics, some different ways to type in the data, to manipulate the data to get it to be exactly what it is that you need. And the reason that this is so important is because our MLS is based on what we like to call here as hyperlocal data. That's why your MLSs exist. That's why we have MLSs in different areas, because here searching is very, very different than a search that you might experience out in Colorado or maybe in New York City. We've all got different aspects. Our market, especially here in Southwest Florida, it's very unique. We've got a lot of different parameters and different things. So, for a client, these are great things, great conversations to have with your clients, not just about us in the MLS sitting here, being nerdy, explaining data to you guys. These are conversations to have with your buyers and your sellers because they don't understand these things, right? You start talking MLS and you start talking syndication sites and they're like, this is a foreign language to me. I have no idea what you're talking about. It's your job to educate them on this, whether it's searching or getting their house out to the public, right? They need to understand the way that this industry works between the syndication sites and the MLS and what's the difference. Why connect me to the MLS? I just went to xyz.com and I searched for my house over here. But the big difference, between the big sites and a hyper-local MLS and local data is that we have search fields that they don't, right? So a lot of your big websites will have what we call nationwide fields. So they have fields that cover a blanket of the nation. So they don't have the things that we have, like maybe it's canal width or the type of canal. Is it Gulf axis? Is it not Gulf axis? That's what we refer to as hyperlocal data. You're going to find those types of fields here in our MLS, but you're not going to find those on bigger websites. Some of them will have waterfront, but a lot of them don't. Same as if you were to go to something like Colorado, we talk to the MLSs out there and they have, whether there's like a ski in the backyard or how far it is to the closest ski lodge, things like that. You're not going to find that here in our MLS. You're certainly not going to find it on websites, but you will find it in their MLSs there. So that's what we talk about when we talk about hyperlocal data and why it's so important to know how to filter out the hyperlocal data here in the MLS, because that's what sets the MLS apart from those websites, and that's what sets you apart as a realtor, the access and the data that you have apart from them just being able to shop on their own. That's why they hire a realtor. It's one of the pieces, I should say, why they hire a realtor is for you guys to be able to know hyperlocal data versus just being able to do a basic search and search through hundreds and hundreds of homes, missing out on the perfect opportunity, the perfect home that the data helps them find. So, and the other thing I want to talk to you guys about while we talk about fields and we talk about searching, something else that's important to understand is what we like to call here is, not even here, but nationwide in the MLSs, we call it RESHO standard. So the Real Estate Standard Organization has a RESHO certification, which says that we meet data standards to a certain level. And that is so that we can communicate nationwide. So it means that, we're not calling it the room in which you sleep in, and another MLS is calling it a bedroom. We all call it bedroom. That's the RESHO standard. That is the data standard. So for things that are nationwide data, we call them all the same thing. That way we can have a data communication and connection with all of these sites nationwide, and they can communicate back to us. But then what keeps us RESO certified is that we match a certain percentage of all those fields, but we are given a certain percentage of fields that we can have that are special and unique to us, which is the hyperlocal data. But we get a lot of questions here as, well, why don't we do it this way? Or why can't we do it this way? And it might be maybe the way that your brain works is, well, I like to think of this field as this, or I like to, classify it this way. Why don't we do it this way? Well, there is a standard out there to the entire MLS organization that keeps it so that we can communicate. We all speak the same language, so to speak. We have some of those local fields, but then we meet that ratio standard with the standard organization of how data works. And when you get calls and they say, well, I know that, it's a duplex, but I want to call it a single family home. Well, we can't because it doesn't communicate correctly and it doesn't land in the right hands unless it's classified correctly. So that's kind of the nerdy conversation before we get into all the fun search fields about your hyperlocal data, your RESO standards, why all this stuff is important. And I tell you guys this because we want you to be able to sit down in front of your clients and your customers and explain to them how these things work, because that's what will set you apart from the next realtor when, your client says to you, well, why can't I just put whatever I want? Why can't we just do whatever we want? When you educate your client, you help hold their hand through the process. They'll understand that they chose the right realtor who knows more about how this industry works. So with all the nerdy stuff aside, let's hop into the fun of it. I am going to share my screen with you, and we're going to go through the entire search. Some of it, if you guys have been with us for a while, may seem very basic. Yeah, Joanna, that's how a search works. We all know. For those of you that are new, you'll be grateful for it, and then we'll get into the detailed part of it, customizing your experience, and from there, plugging your clients right into it. So, and I see we already have something in the chat box. Oh, just a good morning. So that does bring up a good point. If you have questions and you need anything, I will be watching the Q&A box as well as the chat box. So, all questions are good questions. You can submit them anonymously if you need to, but we don't judge here. So put in all of your questions. That's why you're here live, so that we can help you guys out. With that, let me share my screen and let it load. I've got multiple screens here, so if I'm not looking right deep into your eyes, don't be offended. We're just helping you guys out with the multiple screens. All right, so with that, looks like we are good to go. So we are inside of Matrix, inside of the MLS. So of course, logged into the dashboard and went right here to the MLS. For those of you that have been on any of our MLS Mondays, you will know I'm a huge advocate of telling you guys, do scroll all the way down, look at all the tools that you get, click into all of them. If you're brand new here, we try to cover a different tool every single Monday. So check them all out. They're here to help you out in your business. But today we're focusing on that primary tool, which is the MLS. So in here, we do right now currently have multiple versions of the search. So we have the classic search, which many of you have known for years and years and years and years, as long as I've been around touching the MLS. That's the search that we've had. But there is also now, when you hover over that search bar, you've got this option up here at the top that is the new search. So they are making some more updates to this new search, but you've got multiple pathways, and I'm going to kind of show you guys both of them. They work the same, they just look very different. So inside of our search, we'll kind of come out here to the classic search first, and you'll notice it's called classic for a reason. It looks like it was built in the 80s, lots of empty real estate over here, which is why we're implementing that new one. But let's start off with these are your default fields that you're always going to get when you come out into the residential search. So the basic parameters that are based off of usage, right? These are the ones that we see used the most, so they are the ones that are placed here as default that you get automatically. If you would like to search by any other field, absolutely any other field in the MLS, you have that option. So if you've ever looked at a listing and you see a feature on it, anything that you see during the input process or on the printout, it is all searchable. So if you scroll down here, you've got the option right below, the search results to add or remove a field. You can see here, I've added on a lot, and that is simply because I am here with you guys doing classes. So click add or remove, and this will give you every single field that exists in the MLS. And this is where you can build out your experience for what you need to search by. And I tell you this because all of us live different lives in the real estate industry. Some of us specialize in first-time home buyers. Some of us specialize in specific communities. Some of us specialize in investors. Whatever your specialty may be, you need a different experience than the realtor next to you does, right? So we want you to be able to customize this out into exactly what you need. And every customer you have, even if you work a very, very niche specific clientele, none of your customers are going to be the same, right? So you've got your investors, but most of your investors seem pretty cookie cutter. And then the next one that you get will say, hey, I only want to look at properties that have fences. And you're like, how do I even filter by fences? OMG. Well, it's in here. You can filter by it, right? It goes in under external features is where the fences are. You can add that in here. I'm pretty sure I already have it, but we'll click add anyway. So when you add in a new feature, it gets added to the list here, and you can move things up or down by clicking on them and clicking move up, and makes this list exactly into what you want it to be. So that when you come out here, all of your different fields that you've ever added or need to add are here. If you've got too many, you can remove them. Whatever it is, you can build out that experience to what it is that your client needs, so that every piece of data that's in the MLS, you can filter by it. You'll notice that here in our MLS, we already have a lot of that hyperlocal data right here on the default features. So the waterfront, golf access, the waterfront description, the canal description. The other thing that, I see a lot of people needing to add on to their experience in here that we have a lot of in Florida is also golf, right? So we've got a lot of golf filters. You've got golf type, golf membership requirements, things like that. Anything you can think of, though, all of that is here for you to be able to add in there so that you can search by it. Now, if you were to go into the new search, I'll hop over there really quick to give you guys a little taste of both. What is great about the new search, and if you are a new realtor, I would say learn the new search, not the classic search, right? So that you don't have to learn both systems. But in the new search, if you wanted to add in different search filters, you would come up here to the settings bar. And once it loads, same concept, right? Every single field that you can ever think of is listed over here. And then the ones that you want or you would like to keep are checked off here. The ones not checked off do not appear. And as you click things off, for whatever it is that you click, they get added in over here. And then you can deselect them as well. And then these squares on the side here, you can drag and drop. Oh, Joanne, I can't drag and drop. I'll still on Zoom. So you can drag and drop these so that you can put them exactly in the order that you would like. What's great about the new search versus the classic search is when you drag and drop them, it completely alters what you see here on the left-hand side. So when you're in the classic search, right, those default features are always going to be at the top, and then it just throws all the ones that you want down at the bottom. But the newer search, you completely can alter your experience. Now, it'll stay this way. Every time you come out, those fields will stay there. You don't have to add them in every time. You don't have to change them out every time. Everything stays here exactly as you need it. So we've got a question in the chat box, which is the question that we have been getting for years now. The question is from Jennifer. It says, is there any way to exclude flood zone? So we have been working on this for 3 years now, and it looks like, I don't want to make promises, but it looks like this will be coming to fruition soon. So we are working on getting a live feed with our data partners here that build out the matrix from FEMA. So there are a couple of other associations that put in the flood zone field and just allowed the members to put it in. So you run into a lot of problems, right? So people who are in flood zones, I don't want to say that the members would lie, but they would maybe expand the truth a little bit of, well, the corner of it is not in a flood zone, so I'm going to put that. Maybe they're just not educated on the flood zone. So you saw a lot of errors in data, and people were filtering by these flood zones. And the customers at the end of, at the end of the transaction were getting very upset because they were getting a lot of wrong information. So we have just had, maybe only like 2 weeks ago, had a conversation with the programmers. We're like, hey, we've got the connection, we've got the data feed, we need you guys to plug it in, so it's hardwired in. We are hoping that that is something you'll see maybe next couple of weeks, at most I'm hoping 2 months. So I'm a huge advocate of it too. For those of you that have never met me before, I come from your side of the fence. I practiced for 8 years, and trust me, those flood zones, I know it's a big deal. So the data does display from the tax tab. If you were to like click into the tax tab, you can see it because it comes in from a third party, and they can see it on One Home. They can see it on the map. It's on the map, but it's just getting it to read exactly what it says in FEMA that we're working on. But great question. Flood zones coming soon. TBD. All right. So back to adding in the fields here. So new search, you can completely customize what it is that your experience is. You could get rid of all of the defaults we give you and just put in what you want. So why this is important is, again, for those of you that are in like niche different aspects of things, whatever it is that you need to filter by, you can add that in here. The thing that we get the most actually really is people who work like specialty communities. Maybe you live in, I always pick on Pelican Preserve. I don't know why, because they have 40 subdivisions. But you could add in like subdivisions and communities, and you could filter by Pelican Preserve and that specific subdivision, and you could keep all of that data in here too. So if I were to start filling out these things and say golf access, waterfront, maybe I only want to search, we'll pick on Cape Coral because they're the waterfront dream. We'll add that in here. So once I start filling these out, aside from just being able to curtail my experience to the filters I want to use, I also could fill this out and click save. And we'll click set currently selected search criteria as my starting default. Every single time I come out here, it will now start off with Cape Coral waterfront golf access home. Okay. So if you're working a lot with somebody specific, or like a specific niche, or maybe that's just your community, because you wake up every morning, you pour yourself a cup of coffee, or you have your energy drink, whatever it might be, you sit down and you want to like pull everything, it's already there, it's set default, you don't have to recreate the wheel, you don't have to do any of that. And then once, if you decide, hey, like this isn't for me, or I need to start a new search, you just simply click clear. It'll clear out those filters, but it'll keep all of those fields that you added in. Another important aspect of the search is to understand the different buckets of data that we have. So in here for the classic searches running from residential all the way down to cross property here, these are the different buckets of data. Residential is going to be anything that is single family. Your condos are broken out to low rise, mid rise, high rise, your villas, townhouses, and manufactured homes. And it is important to remember the difference between a manufactured home and a mobile home. In the MLS, we can only sell real estate, so it has to have a PID, meaning it has to have a property ID. If it sits on a piece of land that they rent, and it's a mobile home, the key indicator to that we can't list it is if it has a VIN, right? A vehicle identification number versus a PID. So make sure it's in LIPA, make sure it has a PID. You could certainly, if you can sell the land, you can sell the land and put in lot land, but in order for it to classify as a manufactured home, that unit, that dwelling has to be a part of the PID. So outside of residential income, which is a separate bucket of data, is for duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes. All right, so these are properties that are sold to be income producing. The catch up here that people get a little confused on is if you were to list a single family home and with intentions of it being like a VRBO, or they're looking for like, something that's going to be an Airbnb, it still goes in single family, right? Because the person can use it for whatever it might be. Even if you have tenants that are booked out in it, that's got a place for disclosure in it, but they are different buckets of data based on just the property type, not what the intended use is. All right, after residential income, we have residential rental, which is things that are listed specifically just to be rented. So if you have lease opportunities and you're looking for a tenant, that goes in here. Or if you have a tenant looking for something and you're searching, you're going to search in here. And it does have all of the property types in here that you can search for that. The other bucket of data would be lot and land. This is anything that is vacant lot and land. So you have your lot type and then the lot use code if you need that to specify what type of land. You know, if they're just looking for something to build a home on, that's completely different from somebody who's like, you know, looking to build a farm and put some animals on it. So you can look into your land use codes for that, but they all have it there so that you can filter by it. The next bucket of data is commercial. So commercial in here has all of these different property types in there. Commercial, pretty self-explanatory. And then we have boat dock, because yes, some of in our area, again, here we go with the hyperlocal data, we've got boat docks that do have PIDs. So it is a small bucket of data, but if you've got somebody looking for that niche category, it is there. Last but not least is cross property. What cross property does is allows you to search through all of those buckets of data in the same space. So if you have somebody who's like, hey, like I wouldn't mind buying a duplex or a single family home. And you're like, OMG, like that's either residential income or residential. That's fine because you can search for both here at the same time. And I use that example. I'm sure you've got a lot of different examples where they might be looking at multiple buckets of data. They want one search for multiple things. That's here. But the one we hear the most is, you know, somebody who says, I want a single family home, but I wouldn't mind buying a duplex because I'll rent out the other side and, you know, make income. Well, that's fine. You can search for all the buckets of data right here in cross property. Now, if you're in the new search, you'll notice that the buckets of data instead are up here at the top. Same ones as before, right? You've got residential, residential income, rentals, lot and land, commercial, boat dock, cross property, okay? So same thing, just a different layout. The reason that I do promote the new search, though, aside from being able to customize that experience completely to what it is that you need, it does fill the screen more. You can see more. You also can customize your map search along with your results page, and you can continuously move this around as you need to view things, and it moves with you as you plug things in. When you're in the classic search here, as you plug things in, you then have to go over to map, you then have to go over to results. It's all very like segmented, and you always have to click. I like to think of this as the submit button. Your results button is the submit button. When you're in the new search, it just moves with you. You don't have to keep clicking save or submit or lose where you're at. So, but that's enough of my car sales pitch there on the new search. So a few fun things for those of you who may not have used it yet. When you are searching and using these data fields, a few quick tips on coding when it comes to typing things in. The number one question we get here is for list price. It's like, you know, maybe they say, hey, our highest that we can spend is $600,000. And you're thinking to yourself, like, okay, how do I type in a range or an amount? And that goes for more than just the price. If you're in bedroom, bathroom, if you're in acres, anything like that. In here, we use the plus or minus button or the dash button if you're looking for a range. So if they say, hey, minimum, we don't, you know, our budget is unlimited. It's not the best. We all hope for that client. Our budget is unlimited, but we don't want anything less than $550,000. Then this is how you would type that, because here you've already got it checked off that it's adding on the 3 O's or 3 zeros. But this is how you would say anything above $550,000. If you wanted anything below $550,000, you would say $550,000 or less, right? That's how you would type this in. Again, the same goes for, we'll say bathrooms. If they're like, hey, minimum 2 bathrooms, you would say anything 2 and above, right? They didn't tell you that they wouldn't take 3. They want minimum of 2. You don't want to accidentally just type in 2. You know, if they're like, oh, 3-2 home minimum, and you type in 3-2, it's only going to give you 3 bedroom, 2 baths. It's not going to give you anything below, above, or anything like that. So make sure if you're putting ranges in there, you put that in so that you're getting more listings and more data. But then you also have the clients who are very specific, right? And they'll tell you, hey, we're looking for anything that is between $550,000 and $650,000. Ooh, Joanna can't type today. Let's not confuse everybody. All right, so then that's how you would type in a range, right? So you have either 550 or less, you have 550 above, and then this would be a range 550 to 650. That is one of the questions we get a lot of, just trying to type those ranges in. The other thing is when you're selecting multiple options in here, you'll notice that it almost feels like it doesn't let you. You click single family, it'll say, hey, can we get a single family or a villa, right? And you're like, OMG, it's only letting me select one. Well, if you select one, then you click down your control button on your keyboard and you select the other ones that you want, okay? Now you'll see I accidentally clicked high rise. I'll hold down control again and deselect it, and that comes off of it. If you do want to select all of them at once, you can click the first one, hold shift, and click whatever the next one is you want, and it'll select everything in between. So if you want to select just one, that's how you'll do that. If you want to select specific ones, holding control will let you do that. And then if you want to select everything, hold down shift, and then click your next one there, and you'll be good to go. So from there, let's take a quick look over at your map options, because you think that you won't need it until you have that client that asks you very specific things, and you do need it. It's important to know that you can also strictly do a search via the map, or you can combine the criteria and the map. So we could come in here and say, hey, we want single family, low rise, mid rise, high rise villas, and we want waterfront golf access. So put those parameters in, but also let's come out to the map here. We'll pick on Cape Coral again. You can see it's starting to display to us all of the listings across everywhere, because I didn't plug in a city, I didn't plug in an area, and maybe you have somebody that says something that's not so simple, right? They're not always going to say, hey, I want to live in 33904. I want to live in anywhere in Cape Coral. They're going to tell you, hey, I want to live in that neighborhood that is over by the yacht club, but like, you know, I don't want to go past, what was that? They're going to say, I don't want to go past Coronado Parkway. Like Coronado Parkway, over to Yacht Club, up to Cape Coral Parkway, anywhere over there, very specific. And you're like, oh God, how am I going to do that? Like that's, the zip code's bigger than that. Well, this is where your map search comes in, right? So we would simply take our drawing shape and we're going to carve out the piece that they want here. So you can do a circle, right? And that's going to specifically give you a circle as far as you stretch it. Rid of my circle. So your other option is going to be, here we go. So you're going to hover over it, you're going to click into it, and then click delete shape. All right. You've got the square, which is going to give you an exact square, same as the circle did. But what most of us like to use is the polygon. This is where you can freehand and draw the shape that you want. So clicking into this, you know, they said anywhere to Cape Coral Parkway, down to Coronado Parkway. We're going to carve out exactly what it is that they want, stretch all the way out here into the water, make this shape as crazy as we want to, and then take it back to the end, right? And now you can see that it's giving us exactly that area that the customer might be asking for. And you'll see this a lot. They'll, you know, whether it's their families in a specific neighborhood, they've lived in a specific neighborhood, they want to stay in that one. If you need to carve out a specific area, you can certainly do that using this shape. And moving forward, it's only going to show us the results that fit the criteria that we plugged in here, along with anything that we plugged into the map search. The other cool thing that you can do is, you know, let's say they tell you, hey, we'll go with the complete opposite. I want to live in Cape Coral, anywhere in Cape Coral, but whatever you do, you know, my mother-in-law lives over in the Yacht Club area, so don't put me over there. You can do the opposite. So we carve this out and say, hey, I want to exclude this shape. So now it's going to give us everywhere except for where the mother-in-law lives, right? Awful example, but you guys get what I'm saying. So if you needed to exclude an area, you could do that, or just say include this shape and be able to get those results that you want. What's also great is, depending on how creative you need to get, because we all have those fun clients, they ask the wildest things that we never thought of. You can add in different layers here. So you could add in the zip code layer, so that you can understand, maybe they say, hey, I want like the north side of 33914. All right, well, we'll look at 33914 and carve that out. You can add in city, county, all of these different things that all these different filters, I should say, that you can add on top of here. And it might just also help you with your search. We get a lot of people that say, hey, what are the geocodes? So let's kind of give you guys a look at that. Geocodes further break down than zip codes. And so these are the geocodes. You could look at a map to try to figure out what area somebody's talking about. So let's say it's CC42, and instead of drawing a map around it, you can come back to criteria and plug in that geocode. But you could use the map as a reference point for what filter you want to put in there. So lots of fun things. I say go out here, play around with it. Think of all the crazy things that people could ask you for. That way you're more comfortable with it before people start asking you those crazy things and then you can't figure it out. So, but adding on these filters doesn't mean we're searching by it. It's just helping us analyze the map and the data while we search. So next up is the results here. So at the end of the day, this is showing us 43 results because this is exactly what the client asked for. They wanted the Gulf access waterfront properties that were in the yacht club area. We came up with 43, and this is what we've received here for the data. The next part of this would be plugging them in. So if you guys have any questions about search that I didn't get to, you can type those in the chat. I'm going to kind of move into here, plugging your clients in and getting them connected. But if you have a question, like there's something that you've been trying to search for, you can't find, just type it in the chat there. We'll certainly come back to it. So once you're at this point, you've got all of the data, you can see all the listings, you can look through it, and, but most of the time what we need to do, especially at the beginning steps of the relationship, is plug the client into the database and set them up on an auto search. So you've got multiple options here. You can first and foremost select them all. If you want to look at them, you'll see that you can only see 25 out of the 43, but we can change that. You can see up to 250 lines, so I'll just click 100. It lists them all. So let's select all of them. Maybe you've got somebody that's very, very particular. You could come through here and just select the ones that you want, right? But for this example, we'll look at all of them. So you can simply just email them these listings. Maybe you don't want to set them up on an auto search. Maybe it's somebody who is on the other side. It's a seller and they're like, hey, just send us properties that are similar to ours, but don't bother us after that. So you can simply email it to them, right? And that will send them a link that's just going to go to that set of properties. It's not going to set them up on an auto search or anything. It's just going to send them these 43 properties. This email will come through the Matrix system. So they will get an email that shows that it's from you, but it comes through the Matrix system. So if they're having an issue getting it for whatever, maybe they're, still in the 90s and they use Hotmail and it's not going through, you do also have the option when you select all of them to get a link instead of it sending out to them. You can get a share link and it'll say, okay, are you sure it's these 43 listings that you stamped on this date? And you say, yep, generate the link for me. And it does that. So getting the link, it will very much send them. Let me move my Zoom controls here. It'll very much send them to the same space. We'll paste this in here really quick. If they were to get the email and click the link, same thing. So it depends on what level of control you need. There's the easy button there to send out an email, but if you want it to come out of your personal email, grab that link. You can send it over, and then this is the experience the consumer is going to get. We're going to dive deep into the consumer experience here in just a minute, but you can see there that the link will kind of give them a quick way into this. What's great about that also is if you are marketing, that's a link that you could put on social media. It's a link that you could put in your newsletters, whatever it is. So you take expert searching and you pair it with marketing. This is a great way, especially if you live in a specific community, like filter your way down into whatever community it is that you live into, and maybe you've got a community letter that you send out to all of your neighbors. Hey guys, don't forget I'm a realtor. Here's everything in the area. And then you could split those lists out because now you know how to filter by it. You could say, hey, these are homes that have a pool and don't have a pool, or these are homes that are golf frontage and not golf frontage. You can get really, really creative with this when it comes to the marketing aspect of it. Back to in here, if we were to click email instead of just grabbing that link, you're going to type the email in here, and you can see I've plugged myself in here several times. If you already have them in your contacts it's automatically going to pop up for you. So that will make your life a lot easier to plug people into your contacts. If not, you type out the full email in there and plug it in. You can carbon copy somebody if you need to. Everybody's, got 100 family members that they want to see the properties as well, so you can certainly do that. You can have yourself copied on it if you want to make sure that you get a copy as well. You could say also send a link via SMS. If they have not opted into texting with you prior, we're going to go through how to do that in a second, but if they have not opted into it, they're not going to get the text so that you don't get any issues with the CAN-SPAM Act. All right, so then you would fill out your subject, you would fill out the email body, and you would send this off to them. Again, this is how to just send them a one-off list of properties. This isn't the auto email. This is just a quick send out of the research that you've created there. So let me check our Q&A box. Looks like you guys are set. All right. So the other option from here is going to be the auto emails and setting them up on a regular timed email so that every time a new property is listed that fits this exact criteria, they will get a notification, okay? So the way we do that is coming out to the save button. Now, if you guys are new here, a lot of you might be going, OMG, never saw these tabs before. Of course you didn't. They're in white and the background is white. So our eyeballs just don't want to see it. So outside of these options here, you want to come into save and click create new auto email. You can also create a save to search or speed bar shortcut, and those experiences are for you. That will save that to your dashboard. So if you're learning how to expert search today because you want to do it for yourself, those buttons are there on that same tab. So in here, this is where you're going to set them up on their auto email. You're going to select the contact, and if you're like, OMG, haven't plugged them in yet, that's okay. You can click create new contact, and it'll allow you to create a new contact quickly right here. So selecting that contact, let's select the right one. Which one? All right. So you can also carbon copy somebody if needed. You can blind copy yourself. That means every single time they get an email, you're going to get an email. But I'm going to show you guys later. You can come out here and find all the emails. You certainly don't need to blind copy yourself. But if you're at that point in the relationship with them, then you certainly can. Also send a link via SMS text message. Again, I would always select this, even if it's new and they haven't opted in yet, it will ask them to opt in, but just know they're not going to get any text messages until they do the opt-in. So the subject line, this is what they're going to see every single time they get an email. So keep that in mind. Don't say like, something that is only meant for a one-time email. So I always like to say it like your daily list of properties, your new list of properties, whatever it is. Everybody gets way creative with these, and I'm highly impressed. But we'll call this daily list of properties. And what's great is you can curtail the welcome email separate from the reoccurring email. So this is what the system has already generated for you. But certainly, fluff it up, make it to your personality. So this is what they will get initially, and then every single time after that, when they get an alert that there's been a new property listed, this is what they will get with the reoccurring email. You can edit your signature here, and then it's going to tell you what the criteria is. This is where you're going to double check yourself. Did I select all the boxes? Did I accidentally click something off? So it's saying, hey, right now it's 43 listings, plus all new matches that come and go throughout the list. Anything that is active, single family, all of our condos, villas, waterfront is yes, golf front, yes. And then because I did a map search, it's going to give us the longitude, latitude, right? It's just saying, hey, here, we've got a map search in there as well. So make sure you double check that. And then you're going to come down here to the different settings. These are a few different options that you have. Enabling the concierge mode. This is a very specific niche option for clients that maybe need a little bit more hand holding. Concierge mode, what that does is it's going to email you as the agent first and say, hey, these are the properties that we're going to send them today. Is that okay? And then you're going to go through that list and approve and deny every single property. Now, you might be saying to me, why would I do that? I set them up on auto search because, like the Great George Foreman Grill, I want to set it and forget it. But we do have clients that need a little bit more hand-holding. And for this, I would say, let's say you have somebody that comes to you and they say, hey, our budget is $10 million. And we want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, beachfront home. And you're like, okay, yeah, I can certainly find you something. And they say to you, but if you send me any properties where the house is blue, I will fire you. Don't send me any blue properties. I won't have it. And you're like, well, there's not a filter for that one. That's a situation where you would set yourself up on concierge mode. You don't want to lose that client, right? So every morning when it says, hey, there's a new property listed, you're going to check and make sure the house isn't blue before it goes their way. Now, that's a silly example, but I'm sure you guys have plenty of examples that you can think of in your head, clients you've dealt with where you're like, yeah, I need to double check everything before it goes to them. That option clearly there for you. We don't see it used a lot, obviously, because you want to set them up and let them go. But if you need it, it's there. You can also now get text alerts to yourself or email alerts. All right. So we're going to unselect that one because these people were going to set it and forget it. And I do see a question. Can you delete email contacts? So, Robert, I'm going to go into the contact section and show you how to manage your contacts, or whether you want to remove somebody, you want to remove an auto email, or you want to edit their email. So we are going to get into that part if that's what you're talking about. I'll get you covered. If you're talking about something different, then let me know. So show this contact and reverse prospect result. What this does is when a realtor has something listed, they can see how many people have viewed the property through this portal. Now, it's not going to give away your customer's contact information ever. That would be useless, right? But it will say that Robert, the realtor, has a customer that looked at this. It'll tell them if they just looked at it or if they hearted it, okay? And why I would say never uncheck this is because a lot of listing agents use the reverse prospect to communicate to you guys any specials they might have going on. So let's say, Robert's customer is plugged in here, they've got this checked off, and Sally, the seller, has a listing, and Sally is about to take $100,000 off the price. So you might email out the realtors who are in reverse prospecting and say, hey guys, we're about to drop this price, $100,000. I see that your customer's looking at it. I see that your customer likes it. So, it helps you get news first. It helps them communicate with you. Again, it will never tell them what your the customer's name, email, contact information. It'll always have a reference number on there. So you can type in, because you're like, oh my gosh, I have 100 clients plugged in here. Who looked at it? I don't know who it is. It'll give the listing realtor reference number that they can share with you as well. You'll be able to look them up by their reference number. So it helps you guys communicate, and it keeps the buyer's information confidential. Next up, enable as a favorite search on your home tab. So this allows it, while it's setting up your client, it'll also plug it into your favorite searches as well. So you kind of don't have to go back out there and redo that for yourself. Great quick button there. The last part is scheduling. So ASAP means that the moment it's listed, they're getting an email immediately. So with this, I would tell you this is an option that you're going to want to look at for every client. They're looking in a very, very specific parameter of data where there's not stuff getting listed all the time. That could be a good option where they get an email every once in a while. But if they have a very broad search, that could mean that they're getting like 10 emails a day. Every moment a property is listed, they get an email. You don't want to drive them crazy. We used to teach this class, and we used to say, like, in the market where things were flying like hotcakes and it had 80 offers, yet everybody was setting them up on ASAP, because if you wanted a house, you better put in an offer while it's listed for 5 minutes. Right now, I don't know that, you would use that as much. Your other option is daily. So you can choose their schedule, and most of the time it defaults to all AM. That means every single morning they'll get a recap of what happened in the past 24 hours. So anything that was listed in the past 24 hours, they would get. And if they tell you, hey, don't email me on a certain day, you can deselect those days. So then, like, on Friday, they would get a recap of everything that happened from Tuesday's email through to Friday, right? Because they would skip Wednesday, Thursday. If they are night owls, you could do PM versus the AM, or you could do both. So they would get an email every 12 hours versus every 24 hours. The other option is monthly, where they would just get an email recap once a month. This is a great option for your people who are, like I said earlier, maybe they're in the nosy neighbor stage. Hey, we just want to regularly kind of keep an eye out on the market, but we're not looking to move yet. We're not looking to sell yet. We've all heard that, right? So you can set them up to get a monthly alert. It'll give them a recap every 30 days so they don't unsubscribe to you if they feel nagged. Can we search houses by style? All right, let me hop in. So once you're done, that's the next question we have. Once you're done here, you filled everything out, you click save. It sends off those first 43 listings with a welcome email to them. And then from there, it'll keep up with their schedule, whether it's every morning, every month, whatever you set them up on. But I do want to go back to the question we have about house style really quick before we come into contact. So the house style is in here under, it's not under one of the defaults, so it would be something that you add in here. So, and I want to make sure we're all talking about the same thing. So when we open up a listing here, let's scroll down. So you've got different things like the floor plan type, looking for the style, and I also don't have my glasses with me today, guys, so. But you've got all of the different, you know, if you're talking about whether it's ranch or I think we've got like Spanish, split floor plan, all of those different things, you can certainly add that in when you're in here under, which I might already have it. But you can add that in here for the house style for sure. Which is very, very unique. I don't hear a lot of people asking for the house style. But if that's something that your client is looking for, you've got that in there to add. I do want to point out as well, like Spanish style. Yep. So that is a feature that we've got in, or a field that we've got in here. Let me go back here really quick. Again, if you pull up any listing, and you're like, I don't know how to search for it or what field I'm looking for, you can come in here, find it, and then find that description type. And this is what you would find on that list. This is the exact, is word for word what you would find on that list. So if you're in here and you see like a specific thing and you're like, well, I want to be able to filter by that, you've got that in here based on whatever you see that's in bold. That's going to be what you filter by. You know, construction type, building style, whichever one that it might be, that's what you're going to add in there to filter by. So really quickly, if we go to the new search, Raquel, thank you, you're welcome. In the new search, everything that we just went through is also in here. So if you were to fill out your search, select off the properties that you want. I just want to show you really quick where those buttons are, and then we're going to hop into your contacts. In here, your save button, this is where you would add a saved search for yourself. The send button, this is where you would send off an email, right? This is the standalone email, a one-time email. The share link we talked about, so you can grab the link, send it out from your own email, share it to social media. And then the auto email is right here. So all of the same steps. And I will tell you there's a limit of 500 properties for an auto email. It doesn't want you to just select the entire MLS and send it out. It does limit you to 500. So it's blocked out for me right now because I've got over 500 selected. But same process, your buttons are nice and bold up here and big at the top. So in here, let's kind of go through then in the last 10 minutes where you can manage your contacts, your customer's experience, and what they see. So we looked at in here what the customer would see with the one-time link. This is also what they would see with the auto email, except for every time they get an auto email and they clicked into it, the new properties would display here, okay? What's great is, the question we get the most is they're like, oh my God, do they have to make an account with One Home? And like, how does that work? They certainly don't. You can, as a consumer, you can see I'm not logged in, I'm not in the realtor experience or anything. You can click through here, you can look at all of it, you can interact with it, you can get all the information. The only time that they would need to create an account is the moment that they want to interact with this. So if I'm like, you know what, I really, really like this property, let me go ahead and like it. Let me, go ahead and email in on it. It's going to prompt me to go ahead and sign in. It's going to prompt me to try and do anything. So let's go ahead and we'll try to heart something. And you can see this is my information as an admin here. It would put your information here. It's never going to take their information, sell it, anything. This all belongs to you. So here it's going to say, hey, contact your agent or sign in. So it will prompt them to sign in, create an account so that they can save their data. They can look at everything all they want, but of course, if it wants to remember them and save their data, remember what they disliked, what they did like, if they want to go into my properties, they want to start and save their own searches, which they certainly can outside of what you gave them. They can create their own searches, but at that point, they would need to create an account so that it can remember their information. Pretty simple, right? So in here, I do want to point out for the customer experience, aside from, this is all the information they get, for you as their realtor, this is your portal that you've curtailed for them, right? It will always say One Home up here in teal because that is the site if you don't put anything. So if you do go out to your settings and you go to the branding center, that's where you will find the options to change this out. You can change the color of the banner, and then you can put your logo up here. So it will completely look like yours. They'll still be able to go to onehome.com and log in, but it'll always look like yours, your branding. And then down here at the bottom, make sure that you add in your profile photo because your photo will show up here. So it looks like your little face is following them around to help them out so that they can click into this and then contact you at any point. You can see my stuff really scrubbed. I have an admin profile, but it would be your photo, your branding color, and then you can fill this out so it truly is a detailed contact card. That way they can contact you at any point. They can click in here. They can send you a message. They can do a lot of stuff in here to contact you. So outside of this being what they see, I want to show you guys really quick. These are the emails that they get. This is the welcome email from One Home. If you changed the banner and you changed the logo inside of the One Home portal here, that will also change it on the communication. And again, until you change it, it's just going to welcome them to the One Home experience. It's never going to brand anybody else, anything else, aside from One Home or whatever you created. So this is the welcome email that I received when I set myself up. Clicking into this takes you right into that One Home experience. The other thing that they will get if you asked to send them text messages, this is the email they will get to opt into text messages. Again, they have to agree to getting text messages so that our developers, as well as you, don't get sued for texting people due to the CAN-SPAM Act. But this is that opt-in email that they will get. And outside of that, the email that they will get regularly, which this is an old email, so excuse my Gmail because it's scrubbed the photos, but this is the email that they would get regularly with the whole list of all of the properties. It would display the photos, but as you can see, this one is from August, so Gmail get rid of data on me. But it'll have all the photos here, all of this, and then they can click into each of these listings to be brought back into the One Home experience. So that is what the consumer sees. And with our last 5 minutes, let's hop over into how you can manage them once you've set them up, if you need to edit anything, and then also the stalking capabilities. So we're going to hover over Matrix, and we're going to come into Contacts. Again, I encourage you guys before doing the search to plug them into Contacts. It makes it way easier. You can plug in more information, but you can do it either way, right? You can run the search, say add new contacts, or start here. So all of your contacts will be listed here. Again, we talked earlier about reverse prospect. If somebody says, hey, your client hearted my property, I was hoping we could work something out. And you're like, well, who are they? And they're like, I don't know. Say, well, what's the reference number next to my name? This reference number will pop up right here, and that's how we keep the identity sacred to just your portal. But this is, you can type it in the search bar here. You can search by name, email, or reference number, but it also displays here. So you'll be able to see in quick view how many items they might have in their cart, any listing notes, if they favorited anything. And then you can also select their name. And I believe this was the question earlier. You can delete them. You can set them to inactive. active, that would deactivate their auto emails. If you need to, you can select everything. You can export it if you need to. This is your data. We want to make sure that you can keep it. So you've got those options. If you have like a massive spreadsheet that you want to import in here as well, you have that button and that capability up here. So maybe you keep all of your clients in a different tool right now, but you're looking at moving everything over. Might be easy and simple, plug all of your contacts in there. Or if you're just adding one person, then you've got that add button right here. And this is why I say it's best to start here when you're adding somebody, because you can put in so much information versus the quick add when you're doing it from the search. All right, so let's go and we'll hop into this example very quickly. This is what you get when you go into your customer's contact card. So you'll be able to see all the information that you filled out here. If you need to go back and edit it, you're going to click the edit button up here so that you can change out the phone number, the email, anything like that. What's great is it also gives you a quick view on some essentials. So how many they favorited, if they put any notes on it. There is a planner inside of OneHome. We'll hop over here. So up here, if your customer goes through the planner and starts plugging in like the different steps that they've taken, the different things that they've done, you'll be able to track them. Again, as I said earlier, you can stalk them and see what it is that they've done on their planner so far and what they've worked through. There is an option when you create a profile in OneHome. OneHome will ask your customer a series of questions about what their needs are. And then it will give them what's called a property fit score based on their needs. It will tell you like this property fits 90% of your needs. This property fits 50% of your needs, whatever it might be. And it puts that property fit score right here. What's great is you will also be able to collect that data and look at what it is that they answered and see what things fit their property fit score. Just a really cool thing where it kind of holds their hand on that, does it for them. How that's great for you is we know sometimes buyers change their mind, or maybe they haven't told you the whole truth, and you can see, well, they told me they want a single family home, but now, they're over here saying they want a condo. Great opportunity for you to have that conversation with them. And then there's their opt-in options over here. So you can see here, it says that, we had sent them the request to opt in for text messaging, and it's all good, it's approved, and they accepted it. If they hadn't accepted it, you also can click that resend request button, and it will resend this email to them, okay? So it's not like a one chance they missed it, you can't find it, oh my God, they're never gonna get text messages. It's right there. You can resend that to them. You can also resend them the invite to OneHome if they never received it. Let's see. So the other things that you can see in here as well is the auto emails. So this one, we've gone ahead and deactivated it. Let me find a contact. I think I deactivated most of them. So in here, though, you would be able to see the auto email. It will list out what the criteria is, and you can click into it and re-edit it. Again, your buyers may change their mind, and they may say, hey, we know we wanted a single-family home, but now we wanted a condo. So you'll come out to these auto emails. You're going to crack it open and be able to fix that for them so that you don't have to delete it and restart the whole thing. Cart, this is going to show you what they add into their carts, which also you've got searches. This will show you the different searches that they've created, which is great because if I come out here as a consumer and I start searching something completely different from what I've told you, another conversation to have with your buyers. So you can see exactly what it is that they typed in there. And then I know I skipped this part. We went from cart searches. They kind of go hand in hand. Did they add it to their cart? Did they add it to their search? Let's figure out what it is that they're really looking for. But we'll come back in here. So sent emails, this is where it's going to log every single email that you have ever sent them. So that's through the auto emails. Like I said, you could blind copy yourself, but you don't need to because it's out here. If they call you and they're like, hey, do you remember 2 weeks ago when you sent us the email on Monday? It had a blue house and I really liked it. You're like, holy crow, like how do I, you can come out here, you can see what you sent them 2 weeks ago on Tuesday, click into it and be able to find that exact property that they're looking at. So it will log everything for you. On the flip side, for contacts, if you've ever plugged anybody in and done a CMA for them, we've done classes before in a CMA, go find that video on YouTube. Your CMAs will also save in here so that you can always come back to them. And then again, if they are listed anywhere on Reverse Prospects, you will find that list here as well. What's great about this is obviously there's a lot of details that it saves out here for you guys inside of the customer portal so that you can see what they're doing, you can keep up with them. Some people call it stalking. I like to say getting to know your customer to make sure that you're best serving them, but all of that information is out here for you. Last but not least, quick button that I know we're over time that I want to show you guys is back here on the dashboard. You also have a quick button into the One Home experience. And what this does is it's simply going to list out all of your clients here, and then you can preview what it is that they're seeing, okay? So if we were to preview this client's account, I'm gonna see exactly what it is that they're seeing, and you'll notice that there is one extra button that you get. You have a star instead of a heart. And what this means is, as an agent, you can send them things that you believe are best for them. So when the customer comes back out into this portal, it's going to say, hey, here's the things that you dislike. Here's the things that you hearted. Oh, also, here are your agent picks. That's what they call it. They classify it as. It's called agent picks. So you can come out here. You can see exactly what they're seeing. If you want a little bit more hand holding, you can certainly send them some picks for them. So when they log in, they'll pop up as these starred options. And those will give you the different picks, but then you also would be able to see, hey, here's the things that they hearted, here's the things that they dislike. You know, if that's on your daily or your weekly schedule, you can hop out there and go through those different things. So I know we went a little bit over time. There's a lot of stuff. You've got the search, the client experience, and all of those things, but hopefully it helped. If you guys still have questions at the end of the day or you need anything, I don't see any questions left in the chat. But if you do need anything, you've got an entire MLS team that's here to support you guys. You can call in and ask for MLS and talk to any of our lovely ladies, or you can email in mls@rpcra.org, and we are here to help you guys out through the process. So I thank you so much for taking your time on a Monday morning to hang out with us and learn some MLS, and hopefully we will see you in the next couple of weeks over the next other MLS Mondays. Have a fabulous day.